And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Roll to the Top from Koali. This is a roll and write game in which each player is going to be rolling your players are going to be rolling dice each turn. And then everyone's going to be writing the numbers in on their sheet. And this one is a race game where you want to fill in your sheet before everyone else does. So players are going to be taking turns, going around a table, rolling the dice. Everyone's going to be writing in as many numbers as they want, trying to be the first one to finish their building. Because in this game, you're doing different buildings from the pyramids to the tallest building in the world. Let's take a look. In Roll to the Top, each player is going to get one sheet from one of these buildings. So maybe you'll pick the pyramid or the Matterhorn or the Eiffel Tower, etc. So let's just pick one of these for now. Each player is going to get a sheet, so I'm going to take the pyramid here. Now, you're also going to have a whole pile of dice here. You have 5 dice here, a 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 20-sided dice. So what's going to happen at the beginning of the game, you're going to roll these dice, and what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of all the dice with an odd number. Only the 4-sided dice. So now one player is going to go first. They're going to take these 4 dice and roll the white die. So I rolled a 12, a 7, a 1, a 10, and a plus. We'll ignore the plus for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write any one of these numbers, or all of these numbers, or any sum of these numbers on the bottom row, all the spots that are marked with a dot. Okay, well, 1 seems pretty simple. I'll write a 1 in. These other numbers are high. I don't want to put a 7 in here. And that's because if I put a number here, it has to be equal to or higher than both of the numbers that are below it. So if I put a 7, that's going to mean that I'll have to go higher. But let's say I'm crazy, so I'll put a 7 over here. Now this I rolled a plus on, so that means the next player will be adding a die in. So now we're going to roll all these. We don't need to roll the white one this time because when you roll all 5, you always lose a die. So here I have a 3, 8, 5, 12, and a 5. Okay, well, not so bad. I can put the 3 here, and then I can put a 5 here, and then I can put a 5 right here because a 5 is equal to or higher than a 3. And then you always mark the ones that you put out. So I use the 3, the 5, and the 5. I don't want to use 8 or 12, and I definitely don't want to use 20. And so now the person's going to choose, the roller's going to choose one to go away. So let's say he chooses the 20 because we still want low numbers at this point. And so I roll these again. I got a 2, 2, 3, and a 3. Well, how nice about that? I'm going to put the 3 here, and then a 2 here, a 2 here, and a 3 on the bottom. Now, what you're trying to do is you're trying to fill your whole thing faster than everybody else. So if you don't always want to use every number, but if the more numbers you use, you might get in faster and you might be able to fill up the whole thing. Let me show you a sheet of a finished game so you can kind of see. So here we have the Eiffel Tower. You can see this, there was an 8 put here because there's nothing above it, so who cares? This 1 went to a 3, the 2 went to a 3, then there was a 4. And the numbers get higher as time goes by. Here we have 11 and a 17. An 18 was rolled, and then you had to do the same number or higher as it went higher. This particular game, this person played against this loser. Don't look at the handwriting to see if it's mine or not. And that person also went up there, but because their numbers were higher, faster, they took for a long time. So this person actually got 23, while this person was still on the 15 and 17. They chose, at this point, this person decided not to write the 18 when it was rolled, hoping that a 17 would be rolled and not an 18, so that was the only way they could catch up and win the game. But it did not happen. And so each of these is going to play in a very different way. So the pyramid, is basically a pyramid, and then you have the Space Needle, which is the exact opposite of the pyramid, where it starts small and the numbers go up. Matterhorn has all sorts of things. You've seen the Eiffel Tower. A tree is a little wonky, and then this one is more of just a straight up and down skyscraper. So you have all of these here. Then you basically are the first person done is going to be the winner, and then you can start again with another one. You could also play where the numbers start large and each number has to be smaller. That's a very different game, and it's even scarier because with a larger number you can always roll all the dice and add all of them together at some point. but yeah, it's kind of tricky. So you're going to be rolling these 5 dice every turn with the white die. If you roll a minus, you'll lose a die. If you roll a plus, you add a die. If you roll a plus or minus, you can choose to add, or I'm sorry, you add 1 and subtract 1. And then if you roll this, the moving one, you add and subtract. Sorry, this is add or subtract. This is add 1 die and lose another one. If you're down to 1 die only, you always add 1. And if you have all 5 dice, you will always take 1 away for the next turn. There's 30 sheets in each pad, which could give you 6 games per thing if you play 5 players per game. But that's a lot. Although I would do what I do for all these roll and write games, which is just laminate some sheets. You already have the markers that are in here, so writing on the laminated sheets seems to work well. The dice are your typical D20 dice. They're different colors. It helps make them noticeably different from each other, and they work fine. And the markers haven't run out on me yet, although in these kind of games I always need more markers for them. And the box looks okay, but everything fits nicely inside it. I gotta say, I really like this one. This is one of my favorite of this genre, actually, because I like the race aspect of it. A lot of times these games, and if you've never played a roll and write game before, you probably have played Yahtzee at least, you roll dice and you have to write something in the blank. Well, here you don't have to write anything down each turn, but you want to because it's a race, and not writing anything down means you're falling behind in the race. So we don't want that to occur, so you're gonna wanna get things out and out and out. So it's that, sure, a 1 that makes sense to put on the bottom. But and you saw that initial roll I had right at a 1, why would I put a 7 down at the bottom? Well, probably not. But what if I keep rolling higher numbers? I could put them on top of there and I don't care. And only when I get to the top. But if you make your numbers get higher and higher and higher faster, pretty soon someone might roll all the dice and they might roll the lower numbered dice, and then I can't write anything because the numbers aren't high enough for me to put on my paper. So it's a really intriguing way to play this game. I was very impressed with the concept of the game, that it utilizes the 4 through 20 sided dice in a way I have not seen before, where the odds of them in rolling high numbers and low numbers is both good. There's a little bit of fiddliness in rolling that white die and adding a die, subtracting a die, adding a die, subtracting a die, but it's not too big of a deal, and that's really the only thing in the game. Everything else is writing stuff down. Like I said, I'd really laminate 1 of each of the sheets per amount of players, so 5 of each sheet would probably be the best way to do it. And I think this one has some staying power, and each of the buildings feels, there's 6 different buildings, each of them feels very different. I mean, they recommend that you start with, so one of the buildings, I forget which building they recommend because it's an easier one to do. The pyramid is fairly straightforward. The tree and the Eiffel Tower, they have some weird, like you saw the Eiffel Tower at the end, it just has that 1 column. That's kind of a neat thing, and I would not be surprised if they could just make any building in the world. And here's another sheet that you could buy more sheets for this game. So kind of neat. This is the hot genre right now, this roll and write thing. But this one fits in it very well, and I recommend this game, Roll to the Top. Dice Tower Judgment approved!